to another garden chat. Hi, Marjorie. Hi, Mel. Hi, Stephen. Hello, allotted chef. I need to figure out what your first name is because I'd rather call you by your first name. Hello, Robin. Uh, yeah, today's weather, let me tell you, gloomy, very Michigan spring, gloomy, rainy, drizzly, kind of drizzly. We were supposed to have a ton of rain. We got a lot of drizzle. And it's supposed to look like that, I think, for the next several days here. So, although our temps are coming up a little bit, which I'm happy about, but um, I still don't trust. I don't trust where we're going. Um, you can't. It isn't over till it's over. So until the ground is like, I don't know, 60 degrees, I'm not going to believe we're not going to get any more frost. So yeah, so it's kind of gloomy today. Spent a lot of time kind of organizing what's already growing. Uh, I noticed that my artichokes, which I planted way too early, are kind of struggling now. It's like I think they really want to go outside. And hi, Louise. Uh, you know, the CPU things. Now, I have been told your name, and I have forgotten it for just a minute. So if you could let me know your name again. Um, I much rather use first names than our handles, right? Uh, Hi, Sharon. So anyway, so my artichokes are really struggling, and I think they take up so much room, and I think I have them. Hi, Chris and Elizabeth. Thank you. Um, Hello, Dathan. Awesome. I will remember that. Um, but I think they're being they're struggling because they're so close together, and I've up potted them, but they're not happy. So I have made a note for next year that I am not starting them quite so early. I don't know what possessed me to start them as early as I did, but I did, and I think they're struggling. So we'll see what happens with those. Um, Also, because it's kind of getting warmer, it's like in the mid 40s here today, which let me think if I can do this quickly. Uh, about 7 or 8 Celsius. Uh, so it's nice enough to get outside. So, hi, Jace. So I think it's time to start doing that spring cleanup that needs to happen. I did film a video today of all of my growing areas, before we start, because I think next week I'll be putting out my onions. I think it's going to be warm enough for those to go in. Although they can take it down pretty low. Uh, but I did film here's what it looks like before we even get started, so that you can kind of see what I'm working with and um, what I need to do. Hi, Lindsay. Good to see you. Uh, what else are we up to? All my tomatoes are all in. They're all growing. They grow so quickly compared to peppers. I have not yet potted up my hot peppers. I think that's going to be probably early next week. Want to get a little more growth on them. They've just started putting on their true leaves. So I think I'm going to give them just a few minutes. Uh, what else? So once tomatoes start, it kind of really goes fast, doesn't it? Because I started my peas on St. Patrick's Day, which normally I plant out. But again, I don't trust our weather has been so crazy. So I actually planted them in here. But I'm going to get those out as quickly as I can. Uh, let me think what else is going on. Currently, started a lot of flowers, and I'm realizing how, you planting vegetables is different than planting flowers. Uh, because when you plant flowers, you have to plant so many of them to make any kind of uh, statement with them, right? So I'm finding that I'm just doing flats and flats and flats of flowers and trying to get those all going here. Luis has a question. Uh, what do I do with my parsnips? I'm assuming you mean after you harvest them? Is that? I'm assuming that's what you mean. I like roasting them. I like using them in stews. I do a parsnip mash sometimes. I use them just about any way I'd use any kind of root vegetable because they do when they're roasted, they're quite sweet. But I'll throw them in a mash. But I do just love them roasted, and I roast a lot of vegetables like all the time. Roasted vegetables is kind of a staple around here. So that's what I do a lot. And then sometimes when I'm, when you, talking about cleaning out your fridge. Okay. I did a really big fridge clean out today. This has nothing to do with it, and yet has everything to do with gardening. And there were a couple projects that I had done for YouTube. There were a couple projects that I was working on for myself that kind of ended up in the very back of the refrigerator. So today was one of those days where a lot was discovered, and it was very scary. So, but my friend Shelmar, who works with me here, wanted to video it. So we videoed this horrific, a lot of garlic was found in there, a lot of, anyway, there was a lot of things, and it was horrifying. So how did I get, how I got into that. So after I've roasted vegetables, if they are kind of not living their best life anymore, I will just puree all of that and make like a vegetable soup. So that's kind of how I deal with my parsnips. Hardening. Okay. Mel's hardening off her onions. Mine are actually outside right now because I'm hardening those off to get those planted next week. So yeah, it's kind of like we're going to be playing the plant dance. Who goes out because they need to get warmer, or who's going out now because they need to get used to the cooler weather. So, yeah, I do love it though because that's the excitement of gardening, isn't it? We have these little plants we're the ones that take care of them, right? So we have to kind of help them along. It's almost like having little kids again. Audrey, do you do straw flowers? I have 2 straw flowers started right now. I have never grown them before. I always thought they looked really cool because they look almost the same when they're fresh as they do when they're dry. So I have like a really pale pink one and a white one because I also thought those would look really pretty with some of the other stuff that I have growing. So yeah, so yes, I do. Or yes, I am. I guess that's appropriate question. Okay, there's a lot of chat. Parsnip curry or roast parsnip? Yes. I have become much more of a curry lover than I was, I guess, in my home growing up. My dad hated curry, so we never had it. And then when I got older and was able to pick what I wanted for myself, found that I absolutely love it. So I just think maybe his mom didn't cook it very well. I don't know. That's usually why somebody doesn't like something, right? when my husband and I got married, he said, "Just don't ever make Brussels sprouts." And I thought, "Well, what's wrong with a Brussels sprout?" And then I can say this, I think his mom brought them to a Christmas dinner once, and they were gray. So I thought, well, she just cooks them to death. So now that I roast them, and now he quite likes them. So a lot of times you just need to they winter so okay. This is Claire talking about the straw flowers. Uh but save from pink and white and save them separately. They do winter. I would imagine they'd winter so wonderfully. Problem is, I didn't winter sow anything this year. Our winter has been so bizarre that we get daytime temperatures that got quite high. Uh, sorry, just reading another comment. They got quite high, and then our nighttime temps were well below freezing. So I didn't trust it. So I didn't winter sow one thing today. Uh oh, straw flowers are they I don't want to say they look like they look like a mum. I guess if I'm trying to think of something, they kind of look like a mum, but they actually also look like they're made out of straw. To me, they look almost like an artificial flower. And then when they're fresh, that's what they look like, and then when you dry them, that's kinda still what they look like. So, um, yeah, I just thought they'd be pretty. I like to keep flowers around, and sometimes it's nice to have some that don't require a whole lot of attention, so I thought those would be pretty, in a powder room or something where there is not a whole lot of light and might do very nicely. So, I did see Jace is saying he would rather look after plants than kids. I have a 14-year-old going on 28. Yeah. Yeah, my days of 14-year-olds are a little bit behind me, but I get it. And teenagers, that's a whole different ball game at that point, right? They have little minds of their own. Okay, here's another. The Tim's Taste of Paradise took 5 times longer to germinate than the other. Oh, wow. Um, I haven't noticed that because I had 4 tomatoes that I started a week later than all the other ones because I was waiting on my Tim's Taste of Paradise seeds and another set of seeds, and then I got a couple in the mail, and so I haven't noticed that, but that's interesting. Isn't it funny though how the same type of thing, the same it's not really variety, it's the same type. They all just take their own time, right? But I'm very anxious to see what those are going to taste like because they look really good. Let's see. We have a debate about mushy peas, I think. I've never had mushy peas. I think that's a UK. Um, I think that's a UK side dish. I actually don't grow shelling peas anymore because that's a lot of work. So the peas that I've got going on right now are snap peas, so I don't need to pod them. Okay, this is a little more on straw flowers. They're dried when they're still fresh. Okay. Don't they just look dry, right? When they're absolutely fresh. Uh, and lovely sound and texture. and quite tall. Beautiful. I'm looking forward to that very much. Uh, oh, so mushy peas go with like fried fish. Is that what I'm seeing? Okay. It's just not anything I've ever had. Uh, question, running out of space with heat and light, what can you grow that does not need heat? Well, I think any of your the brassica family doesn't need to be on heat. And they could probably grow in a cool greenhouse, or I think they would just pretty much need light. I know peas don't particularly need a lot of heat. Um, I think until you really start planting your summer crops, that's really when you need to have a little bit more heat available to them. You know, tomatoes and peppers and cucumbers and uh, melons, those kinds of things that really do thrive in the heat. I think other than that, though, I think you could. I think without light. Okay, what do you need for that? That doesn't need heat. Okay, so I think you're cool. I think that you'd be fine with that. Uh, wow. Now I've never heard of this. Marrow fat peas. Big fat things you mush up. You can get them at the chip shop. I am so sorry. I'm not I've never heard of marrow fat peas, and I know at a chip shop, does that mean uh is that French fries for us? Yeah, so interesting. Uh so I was talking about garden cleanup, and I think this is a great time if you have not amended your beds at all to do some amendments to them. Uh and let that, because I'm thinking we all maybe have some time before we're getting a whole lot outside. Other than peas, I might get a few my brassicas in this coming week too, depending on our frost tolerance. Um, but I think a good bit of garden cleanup right now would be very helpful, so that it's kind of like you want your beds ready, and you want your plants ready. So when you know the time is right, you're not saying, okay, now I have to go clean beds for that. So if there's any way, I would say get out, even if it's, clean up a little bit here and there, but get out. And I know for people who have gardens that aren't like attached to their home, like mine, it always means a little bit more. But I also think maybe you get more done because you have to go somewhere to do it, right? And that's always a more motivator when you have to drive or get somewhere, spend your time doing whatever you're doing, and then sometimes when it's just outside your back door, it's a little easier to procrastinate because I've been known to do that. Um, okay. Uh, oh, well, thanks, Stephen. He Googled marrow fat peas. They are a type of green pea. Okay, that's a variety I've never heard of. So interesting. So it sounds like they're kind of large. So maybe those aren't as labor intensive to shell. Because, yeah, I gave that one up this year. No shelling peas. So, how has this week been going for all of you with the shuffling of everything? uh, I find that I've now moved out. My shelves are full, and I call it triage when I put them on the dining room table because sometimes a tray of plants needs a little bit more attention than other ones. So I have a triage area for things that aren't looking as great. Like I talked about my artichokes. I don't know. They're looking a little sketchy. And I think it was maybe inconsistent watering. So, but that's user error, right? Um, so I think they had gotten a little too droopy, had not been getting enough water, and then I think I overwatered them. And they don't know what to do with themselves. So we'll just kind of figure that out. Jace is saying he did 10 lengths of the plot yesterday, 5 front crawl. Oh my goodness, it's so wet. Oh, I was wondering what you were talking about there. Oh, yeah. So maybe after things dry out, spring, man, can't spring just be super wet, high winds? I mean, you understand. It's like, let's have high winds so the seeds all come off the trees and we can, their goal is to self-populate, right? And then lots of water so that the little seeds can start. But it doesn't always make managing things very easy, very pleasant. Is it too late to harvest Jerusalem artichoke? Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to be harvesting mine in the next week or so because I planted them in a container because you know how Jerusalem artichokes will just take over. And I have never harvested them. Now I've grown them at every home we've been in. So I'm taking the whole bunch out because I thought maybe I'm just not that interested in having these because I have not harvested them. So I'm going to harvest them all. I think they will be just fine harvesting them here. I just don't want them to get too into the season where they're actively growing again. So yeah, I think you should be fine. But again, I would just maybe pull a couple and see how they are, and if they're not, I think they'll be just fine. So are any of you entering the Potty Mouth Parsnip Challenge with Gladiator parsnips? I have mine. I don't think I can put those out until at least April, like mid-April-ish. And I think I'm going to chit them. I'm going to chit them on a paper towel. That seems to be recommended a lot, so I'm going to try that. Yeah, I think there's a lot of opinions about Jerusalem artichokes. I know that a lot of people have trouble digesting those. I have had them at one restaurant. I think this was on the West Coast, and they like shaved them and like flash fried them, so they were very. I mean, they were wonderful, but I don't know that I have. I don't know that you can just like eat a Jerusalem artichoke. I've heard they can be very challenging to eat. Now, when I've grown them before, it was more like I would put them in with mashed potatoes or with something else, and I never just ate them by themselves. But I do understand they can be a bit of a challenge. Mags is saying that she's starting her parsnip seeds on kitchen towel. Yep. I've heard that a lot of people do that, so I'm going to give it a, best try I can. Okay. Jace is saying 10 degrees soil temp before I'll sow mine. And that's probably quite wise, right? You kind of want it to be warm enough to germinate and then to keep on growing. So, yeah, good. Yeah, I think it's going to be, at least, I think it's going to be fun. I don't know. We all want to win, probably, if we're very honest, but I don't think we all can. So, oh no. Okay, this is cute. My friend's partner said he would divorce her if she ate them again. I think we're still talking about Jerusalem artichokes for some reason. Do you keep the tub do you keep the tub in the dark or on the windowsill for parsnip seeds? I don't know that I can answer that because this is my first year doing like this chitting thing. But normally when I'm chitting, it's on a damp paper towel, seeds with another piece of paper towel over the top. So I would think that's reasonably dark. But I don't know if there's another way. Maybe you can do it with them just sitting on one piece. Well, that's a good attitude to have. You're going to feel like you won if you manage to grow decent parsnip. I think that's a great attitude to have. And I honestly, I'm trying to think. I've never grown a parsnip before because I've seen on some of, and I think it's all because of trying to grow the biggest carrot or trying to grow the biggest parsnip. There was so much, putting tubes in the ground and filling the tubes with sand, and I thought, I'm never gonna. I mean, I'm not that enamored that I have to grow something that's going to require that much work. So I never did. Now this time I'm just going to put them in my raised beds and take care of them as best I can and see what we get. I mean, we love them here, so it's not like it would be a bad thing to have a nice parsnip crop, right? I think the problem for me here is that I can't leave them as late as many of the UK gardeners can. Like, I can't store my parsnips in the ground because come, mid-November, late November, my ground is frozen and they are not coming out. So I had that problem with my carrots this year. I thought I'd be really, wise and just store them in the ground, and then they wouldn't come out of the ground. So so I waited for a few warm days. I threw some plastic bags over them to see if that might heat up the ground. It did enough that I got them out, but yeah, I love that in certain climates you can store things right where they were growing. I mean, and yeah, it's amazing. I wish that I could yeah, and I think, Jace, that's why I'm gonna try to chit them because I've heard they're so bad. They're such horrible germinators. Um, but I was even thinking if I chit them, I might put 2 per station just because I would like to get something. Like, I don't wanna say I'm entering this and then I don't even have one to show for it. So, which might be overkill. I realize that. Oh, it's first time for you too, Meg. Okay. Uh, First time growing parsnips too. So let's see how we do. I have been doing a little research trying to figure out the best way to do this. Do you think anyone will beat Steve after his last year? I don't know. He grew some, I mean, those were so big that I even kind of wondered, wow, what would they taste like that big? Because you know how many vegetables are better when they're in their their smaller, younger uh, version, and that thing was almost the size of his arm. So yeah, I don't know, but I'm gonna try to beat him. I will not be able to sit on potty mouth board again, or what is it called, round table, if I don't even at least give it a shot to beat them all. Oh, a lot of first timers. Uh, First time for me too, and carrots. I usually only grow the stubby carrots, as you don't have to worry about them. Yep. Uh, and I would imagine these are just like growing a carrot, right? At least germination obviously is different, and I do understand they're not good germinators, but I'm going to pretty much treat them the way that I have treated carrots. Uh, Marjorie saying we will all have a try, but not sure about Inverness. So I'm live, honey. It's okay. It's my husband. And he has sworn, I never want to be on your channel, ever. And this is the second time that he's managed to get on it. So I think he thought I was just in here talking to myself. That's a little bit disturbing. Now, Inverness is colder? And I guess that's more of a, coming from, I mean, I've been to Inverness. I just don't remember where it is. Okay, sorry, that just threw me for a second. Oh, North Scotland. Oh, yeah, that's chilly. Yep. What did I miss then? Uh, when my husband walked in? I'm not sure. Wait a minute. What is this? I'm used to your husband crawling, or I know. Well, that was that, and then he's had 3 appearances because he's in my I did an aerial view of our home, like our layout of our property. A drone, my son brought his drone, and Kevin was out there with our dog, not our dog, my son's dog, our grand dog, I guess it is. And he's just out there with the dog looking up at the drone. And I'm like, you realize Cam's filming all this. So he was right in the middle of one of my videos. So, okay, so a lot of Scotland. Yeah. My parents were from Scotland, so that's kind of where we vacationed a lot in the summertime because that's where all of our relatives were. So they were the first ones to come over to the US. So I've been there many, many times. Beautiful country. Glasgow is it's like every big city, I think. But the country, gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. Okay, so I'm feeling a little, what's the word? I'm popping around a lot today. So, We talked a little about trying to get some cleanup done as weather permits. Uh, we're getting some of our warm weather stuff in. Got a lot of perennials started at this point. And did start a lot of my early spring stuff. I started some arugula, some more spinach that I'm going to pop in as soon as we get just a hair above freezing. I'm going to pop that in and get that rolling and get some of the stuff that's in my home out of my home. Yeah, no, I feel like I'm on a sewing, little bit of a sewing frenzy here. I just have to make sure I'm not like I don't want to be starting my cucumbers yet, my melons, my squash, none of that because I think I want to try to sow that directly this year, which I haven't done a lot of because we have a lot of squirrels and rabbits and other things that just like to dig things up. So I always feel like if I have a plant that's going out, it has a much better chance of surviving. Um, oh, I can take that down now. Uh, uh, yeah, but I have these. They were actually trash cans that I got at like the Dollar Tree or something, and they're all just a mesh. They're metal, but they're mesh, and so I think I'm just gonna plant my seeds outside and anchor one of these mesh baskets over it until it springs to life. So that will afford me not having to start everything in the house. Oh, I'm going to have to go back and read all these comments about Scotland. That's lovely. I need to up my game again on some UK geography. I was probably better at that when I was younger because we were there a whole lot more often. Um, but I was not a driver. So it's amazing how much more you remember and keep if you've driven places. Uh, yep, Robin, that's a good plan. Second week in April. I've got my onions right now in my zippered greenhouse, seeing how they just kind of getting their temp there that get them a little used to the cooler temps because I know they'll do fine. I think onions normally will survive like down to 20 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm not really concerned we're going to go anywhere near that at this point, but I thought I'm going to give them a week, maybe a week to just kind of acclimate to things. Uh Hi Nicola. I'm starting sewing next week. Visiting family in Brighton this weekend. Yeah. Yeah, and here's the thing. And aside from a couple things, most of our sewing will catch up, right? I mean, most of our plants will kind of do a catch up. Now, I did a whole flat of snapdragons. And if anybody has grown snapdragons before, they take literally forever, I think, to come up. And then they come up with these little teeny, and I just kind of thinned them out a little bit to try to give them some room. Uh, excuse me. So I'm hoping they might get a little growth on them. Don't forget to look. Wait a minute. Oh yes, that place. Yes, I will. I will look that up. That's apparently actually is that a city's? That's a city's nickname, right? Yeah, I will look. Yeah, Mags has run out of room. I think we're all getting there, right? Need to pot up some seedlings, but struggling so much for space. That really is one of the reasons that my onions are out in the I mean, I am trying to get them hardened off, but it is like they got to get out so I can make room for some other things. Yeah. I actually was looking around my house just yesterday, and this is a big, huge, this growing tower that I have. It has 4 shelves. They're 2 feet by 4 feet each. And I was looking around the house like, well, where could I pop another one of those? I don't think. I'm thinking maybe in that closet behind me, I could maybe fit another one in there if I emptied that completely out. Well, we'll see because growing plants is probably more important to me right now. Uh, uh, we did a couple trays of violas and a second tray of sweet peas. My sweet peas have come up. That is another thing that I've not grown before. So, see, I'm being very influenced by my UK gardening friends. And our neighbor just put a fence up, a wooden privacy fence, and I immediately thought, wouldn't that be a beautiful place to grow sweet peas up? So that's the plan. And I did notice that they're all up, or they're all coming. They're all in the process of coming up. And I understand that the fragrance of a sweet pea is like none other. Yeah, well, don't think I haven't thought of that. We actually were thinking about because the back of our garage faces south. And so my husband has threatened a couple times that he goes, I'm just going to put a bank of windows in the back of the garage. And I could kind of double as a greenhouse for you. And I thought at first, uh, like that seems pretty extreme, but I'm now thinking that that sounds like a really wonderful idea. Because, yeah, wouldn't that be nice? Because it gets sun all the time. So, oh, and Lindsay is saying that sounds good. That sounds perfect for my sweet pea. Awesome. Because, it'll get morning sun, but then it won't get that killer afternoon sun that we get. So I was hoping that that might be a nice balance for sweet peas. Let's see. Uh, oh, that sounds pretty. Sharon has built. Uh, oh, sorry, Leighton. I will come back to you. This thing moved really quick on me. Sharon was putting up a new chicken wire fence for her sweet peas this year. And I thought, well, wouldn't that be pretty? Because they do look, they look gorgeous. And if they smell half as nice as I've heard they do, uh, I think that will be just lovely. Okay, I'm going to take my glasses off because my eyes are changing like so drastically that I barely need them. If it's 5 or above, I keep brassicas, onions, salad leaf spinach outside enclosures. Hardens them off, but also slows them down. Yeah, no, are these plastic cloches? Are these glass? Or I think I saw on one of your videos that you use the top of a pop bottle, of like a 2-liter bottle, which I think is a brilliant idea. Um, yeah. Oh, there's everlasting sweet peas. Now that's speaking my language. Everlasting sweet peas. They come back supposedly every year. Wow. I wonder if they would here, though. We get so darn cold. Um, oh, I just missed a whole bunch here. Yeah, that sounds. Claire is so funny. Yeah. Oh, and I did an experiment because I wasn't doing winter sowing. There are some seeds that need stratifying in the cold. They require cold to bloom. So I put out a few 6 packs of stocks and larkspur, and then I put a little dome over them so they wouldn't totally freeze. Well, then it got hot, and I think I baked them under this dome. So I'm gonna try maybe resowing some of those because I don't think I'm not sure I'm gonna get anything. Uh okay, so Nicholas saying that the everlastings don't have a scent. Yeah. Yeah, that I think that's a great idea to use kind of what we have is to use the half pop bottle piece. Seeded calendulas coming up as big seedlings. So definitely time to sow. Nice. Yes. Uh, I've never had I've never had calendula or marigolds or anything come back uh, because of self-seeding. I don't know why. Um, but probably because we get so cold. I don't know. Oh, you've already got your potatoes in, Nicola. Yeah, I don't even get my potatoes here until late April, early May, because they won't mail them in case there might be a frost. So I can never get a heads up unless I just plant some organic potatoes that I get at the grocery store, which I haven't. Um, well, I shouldn't say that. I haven't this year. I'm only, there's a couple varieties that I really want to grow. So I'm trying to save that room for what I really want to grow. Uh, okay, let me. Normal sweet peas can self sow. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure what they're. Yeah, how cold can it get? Um. Okay. Sometimes when I get in the middle of conversations, it's pretty funny. Um. Yeah. So I agree. I don't think it's a bad thing that I can't get my potatoes until later because then I know I'm not going to get a frost. And I know that sometimes uh, they can really get nipped. Uh, but yeah, so I'm growing more potatoes this year than I ever have. I think I have 4 varieties coming, and that's a lot of potatoes because that's a good bit of land that you're allocating for that. That's what I'm trying so hard this year is to decide what really is worth the space that I have. And just because I can grow it, um, doesn't mean I need to. I need to leave a lot of room for parsnips and a lot of room for rutabagas because I'm also doing the sweetabaga challenge. uh, we do happen to like rutabagas, so it's not like that would be horrible. Um, yeah, so this week, I think for me, it's going to be getting some onions in, uh, maybe continuing to harden off some of my uh, brassicas, get those in early. I want to see if I can beat the white butterfly. Um, get them in, get them out, before those horrible things take over my yard. Uh, oh, okay. Yeah, so I'm trying to think what other root crops, and I'm anxious to get carrots in, but it's too early for me. Uh, I did start a lot last year in uh, toilet paper rolls, worked beautifully. So I might try that again this year. Uh, oh, there's a Colette growing one. I didn't know that because I like Colettes with Will the Flying Gardener. Okay. I don't think I've seen that. That's awesome. Yeah, Colettes are just the best. Didn't even know those existed until I saw Steve from he changed his channel name. I think it's Steve's Kitchen and Seaside Gart Allotment. I mean, the guy is like a machine. The way he treats this like it's his job, and he does phenomenal and grows year round. And his goal is to be self-sufficient in fruit and veg, and I think he gets pretty darn close. Yeah, pretty amazing how he does that. Oh, well, I'll check out Will the Flying Gardener's channel. Thank you. Yes, Sweetabaga. Okay, Sweetabaga. Come on. Yeah. Because in the UK, they're called Swedes, and in the US, they're called rutabagas. So it's a Sweetabaga contest. Oh, a Colette they're delicious. It's a cross between Brussels sprouts and kale. So rather than getting a really tight Brussels sprout, you almost get like a little frilly Brussels sprout that has a lot of kale flavor to it. They're lovely. And once you have them, you almost prefer them to Brussels because um, they're just lovely. Okay. Mm. I don't think we should ever come to this hungry because a lot of food gets talked about. Swede mashed with carrots and butter. Well, here's the other part of that. What is not good mashed with butter? I don't know. I'd almost like eat a sole of a shoe if it had butter on it, right? Um, okay, so we are next Saturday. Week on Saturday is April 1st, which it was just February, I think. So we're starting to get the countdown really quickly here to getting things out and I can't wait. We filmed this video today of the growing spaces and kind of what they look like right now, uh, and it's just depressing, right? Because everything is, it's all kind of it's just brown and drab and it's not pretty to look at. So but it is a blank canvas for what this year's garden can look like. And I'm also determined this year that I'm going to move things based on how they look more than I just want it to be a really pretty and fruitful garden. Um, but I want to emphasize the pretty a little bit more. Um, yeah, you whiteflies love Colettes and Brussels, right? They just they just love them, and unfortunately, they grow for so long that you need to just be vigilant about trying to keep those off. But yeah, so this year I really want to focus on this just being pretty. Um, oh, that's an interesting question. Has uh, being a lot more involved with UK gardeners changed any of the ways? Uh, well, it has opened me up to different vegetables and varieties. And because my roots are from Scotland, it kind of uh, it intrigues me very much because I think, wow, if my parents hadn't moved here, that's where I'd probably be living. So I kind of look at that a little bit differently. Um, I think I'm a little less precious about how I used to garden. I was definitely one that, everything was thought through, everything um, went on schedule. And I think I've relaxed. That could be an age piece too. That it's not life or death if this one doesn't get in. So I think maybe I've relaxed a little bit as a gardener. And my grandfather, uh, like he that's how I got into gardening. I never met my grandfather. He passed in Scotland before my parents were even here. But he used to have his whole front yard was roses. So he was this really big rose gardener. And that's how I started getting into gardening. I thought, well, that's kind of cool. So I'm going to learn how to grow roses. And that felt like a history piece for me, kind of my people do this. So I'm going to try this. Uh, and that just got me hooked. So once I started doing that, I mean, if you've ever taken care of tea roses, if you can take care of tea roses, you can take care of just about anything. And then I got into, the floribundas and the bush roses. Um, yeah, but then, here comes the veg, and it just changed uh, thought about my yard and what it needs to look like. So, but here's what I love about watching or getting to know UK gardeners is it's part of the culture over there. We have some gardeners over here, but there's this whole gardening culture there. And, the fact that you can walk into a store and there's like 30 different kinds of seed potatoes that you can just pick up, like at a local store, that's unheard of over here. Uh, I just love the kind of the depth of gardening that exists in the UK. So I will forever love my UK gardeners because I think it's a connection um, to my past and to my family's past. And yeah, not just that, they're totally cool. So it's not, there's no downside to that. Um, oh, there you go. Um, this is Marjorie, and she started. I have started. My dad used to grow vegetables, and I feel close to him trying to plant stuff. Exactly. And again, that's really why I think I started the roses because I thought, I never met him, but I knew my grandmother and obviously my mom and knew enough about him that, yeah, that was kind of a connection for me. So, yeah, that's lovely. And I hope, although none of my children caught the bug, but sometimes kids take a minute to catch the bugs that we'd like them to catch. Um, so we'll see. As they get older, they might need to garden. Oh, that's a good question. Do we have specials gardens? Okay. Well, here's the deal with seeds over here. Um, you're going to get some big box company seeds uh, in most stores. But if you're going for a particular brand of seed, you're probably going to have to mail order it. So I pretty much mail order all my seeds. I mail order my garlic, I mail order potatoes. Uh, it's just kind of the way it is here. Some people are lucky enough to live like close to a beautiful garden center that might provide more variety than that. But I'm on the outskirts of Detroit. So I live close to a very big metropolitan area, and I pretty much have to mail order most of my stuff because, again, gardening is not a culture here. It's, I think after COVID, there was a whole lot of people that stuck their foot in the pond, but I'm not sure they stayed. And yeah, I wish it was a broader culture here than it is, but um, well, I hope they come around to it. Wouldn't that be nice? So, well, anyway, we are over an hour already. Kind of can't believe that. These really do go very quickly. Again, thank you so much. You guys are just wonderful. And I'm so excited that we get to talk a little bit more about gardening, which I think is like one of the nicest things we can talk about in the current in the current climate, world climate. I just love that we can, carve out a little time and just talk about something as lovely and pleasant as gardening. So, anyway, you all just have a great week. We will do something to celebrate April next Thursday. I don't know what that will be, but I'll try to come up with something. But really have a great week. Enjoy your plans for the garden. Enjoy your growing, and even with things that are kind of challenging, set up a little triage area and and see what you can do to help your plants. All right. Thank you again for taking time out of your day to spend time with me. I totally appreciate it. And I look forward to this every week. So take care. Same time, same place next week. Bye now.